Okay, the time is almost there. Can everybody hear me? Just give me a thumbs up in the chat room so I can see you. I saw one greeting. Yes, thank you. This is from Summary. I hope I pronounced your name right. Okay, my name is Kai Ping Peng. I'm the psychology professor at the Tsinghua University on campus. I think I opened this class, right, almost 7 weeks ago. Now I'm the one who will be ending this class. My colleague, Dr. Zhao Yukun, did a marvelous job to teach you positive psychology. So this is going to be the last class of this positive psychology theory. The focus, the topic I'm going to talk about tonight is the concept of flow, the optimal human experience. Hopefully, you can all enjoy flow while listening to my lecture. But of course, I like your feedback. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, please feel free to send that to me with the WeChat room or the chat room for this Zoom. Okay, so what is the flow? What is the flow? Why is it important, and how to cultivate the flow experience? Why is this concept very important for positive psychologists? So tonight, I will address these questions from 3 points. Number 1, what is it? And number 2, how do you feel you are in the state of flow? And number 3, how to develop the skills for enjoying of the flow. So let's start with the first question. What is the flow? In 1975, American psychologist with a Hungarian origin, his name is very tricky to pronounce. It's called Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. And he joked that if you don't know how to pronounce his name, you just to remember, check, send me hi. So if you send him a check, he will be very happy. So check, send me hi. That's his name, how to pronounce it. And that's how he tell me personally. Of course, he was making fun of his name. Anyway, in 1975, he published a book. The title of the book is called Flow, the Optimal Human Experience. The reason he studied this psychological mental state of flow was that he wanted to find out what is the secret for people to get the top of their own professions, to enjoy the wonderful success. He found that those secrets of success was not because they are smarter than other people, or the emotional intelligence higher than other people, or the educational degree higher than other people. Actually, some people succeed even they don't have a high education, or coming from rich family. He found that all those reasons were actually not secrets, not the reasons for those people to reach the top of their own professions. He found that he surveyed 600 some leading people in their own professions, like artists, chess masters, scientists, rocky climber, composer, athletes, entrepreneurs, everybody believed were the leaders of their own professions. He followed them for 15 years, tried to find out what reasons made those people so successful in their own profession. He found that only one reason that's shared by all those people. Many other reasons were not shared. So only one reason was shared by all those people. That is that when those people doing something they were supposed to do, they can increase themselves in the things they're doing, activities they were doing, and they often forgot the passage of times and also surroundings. They actually didn't pay attention to other people. They actually just enjoying what they are doing, totally engaged in activities that are entirely coming from their own intrinsic pleasures, not from the evaluation of the other people or external rewards from other people. This unique psychological experience Professor Csikszentmihalyi labeled them as flow. So that's how this concept comes from. And he believed this psychological mental state of flow is the most optimal human experience you could ever get. So what is the flow? He believed that most people actually already had the experience in what they're doing, in sports, in conversation. When you talk to your friends, you probably forgot the time and the space and the surroundings, or doing something you like your hobbies. So you pretty much put yourself in the activities you're doing. And we all had the experience, but we didn't know that. And sometimes we probably did it without a purpose. And this suspension of time, the freedom of complete obsession in what you are doing, and that's the psychological state of flow. So in psychology, we define flow as a state of mind in which one becomes fully involved in activity or experience, enables thought to run effortlessly, and the leveraging its fully physical or cognitive potentials. Some people call that being in the zone, or ecstasy, or nirvana, or in the moment, on a roll, while in the groove, on fire, in tone, centered, or singularly focused. So people already describe this kind of experience with a different way, but those are the psychological mental states we positive psychology recommend people to enjoy. As a matter of fact, Chinese discovered and mentioned this psychological states 2,000 years ago. There was a very famous Chinese philosopher by the name of Zhuangzi, actually elegantly described this state of flow from this ordinary Chinese. His name was Din. He was a cook, so the Chinese call him Cook Din. And he was working for this king by the name of Wen Hui. So when he was engaged in things he really liked, then he almost forgot the time and space and surrounding. So that was the famous story in Chinese history. The Cook Din was cutting up an ox for Wen Hui. And wherever his hand touched, shoulder leans, his foot tread, and his knee thrust, there was a sound of slicing, which kept time with the rhythm of the dance, and where his modeling as a music of a Jinsu. That was a very famous story in Chinese history. If you ask any Chinese, he will tell you that was one of the most beautiful poems from Chinese philosophy. So this state is actually what we call the flow. So the characteristic of flow, there are many. I simplified that with the 5 characteristics of a state of flow. Number 1, fully attentive. So you are very much increase yourself in the activities you're doing, temporarily making the time, space, and the self disappearing. So basically, at the moment, you forgot what time is, where you are, even forgot who you are. You are very much enjoying the activities you're doing. And also very much in control. So you have the sense of control, and you have the sense of being mastering of what you're doing. And also you're experiencing of this experience. You're really much into the experience. You like the feedback. You actually enjoy every moment of what you're doing. And of course, you're very much heartfully participation in what you're doing. So that's what we call characteristics of flow. And that experience, we actually find coming from this interesting balance between challenge and your skills. If you are doing something that is so difficult, then it's very hard for you to get into a state of flow because you may be anxious about it, stressed out, alert, because that's too difficult for you. And you may have worries because that's very hard. And you experience maybe stressed or sad. And if it's so easy, like challenge was low, and your skill was low, and then you have apathy. You basically feel depressed. Only when you're doing something that with a little bit of challenge, but you think you can do it, then you have this sense of flow. So happy moment coming from your control, but it's a focused moment that generates a sense of flow. So it's a very interesting combination between challenge and your skills. So don't do anything that is so easy, then you may feel bored. And don't do something that is so difficult and challenging, then you may feel stressed out. Only when you have a challenge, a little bit higher than your skills, but you feel you can do it, you can accomplish it, then you can get in the psychological state of flow. So what kind of activities most likely to generate this experience of flow? Professor Csikszentmihalyi, he actually found that there are many ways, the many activities you can do can bring you into the state of flow. Reading book, easily to get you into state of flow because you're enjoying the words, enjoying the concept, enjoying the stories. You're very much easy to forget the time and space. Of course, the book must be interesting and must be useful to you. And second, playing video games, and people get a state of flow because the video game is challenging and you have to put yourself in. But of course, you cannot do this for too long because then you have a tiring, boring situation. Number three, playing sports. Researchers have found out participating in competition sports events can generate the sense of flow. Exercising, jogging, running, they all get you into a psychological state of flow. Interesting conversation. We talk to friends who is very much understand your need, your desire, and share your common experience, enjoy the company of you, then you are very likely to get in the state of flow. So interesting conversation sometimes make people forget the time and the space, forget where they are, and because they are really like this person-to-person conversations. Play music can get people into psychological state of flow. So wonderful music, great music. Sometimes even you singing the song, it can get you in the state of flow. And also practicing hobby. Everybody have their own hobbies. As long as your own hobby, then you are very likely to get in the state flow. I have a friend who's a photographer. I was so surprised during this thunderstorm, and he can sitting in the chair, try to capture the picture of the thunderstorm. Everybody worried about him, but he was very much into what you're doing and what he's doing. So it's very much like the psychological state of flow. So find your hobby, practice it. Maybe you'll get into this state of flow. Forget the time, space, and where you are. Playing chess, anything that is a little bit challenging, but you have the skill to overcome the challenge, then you will get into a psychological state of flow. Programming, you may be surprised. Some people like to write the programs because that's something they're doing, and also they need some skills. Therefore, they can get into psychological state of flow. Surfing, I used to teach at UC Berkeley. So in California, I saw lots of young people, maybe people who are not that young, they really like the surfing. And when they ride in the wave, they get into the moment, very happy. So I always said that it's better to ride in the wave and then chasing the wave, because chasing is so difficult, but riding the wave, you can get you into this very uplifting experience that we call flow. So in 2014, I did a study to check over 100 million Chinese online to look at what kind of activities make the ordinary Chinese feel they are in the state of flow. And that's what we find. A little bit different from what the Professor Csikszentmihalyi found in the United States. We find that activities always generate the sense of flow or hobbies. So something you really like, then you will get in the state flow. Playing sports, any kind of sports. If you like a golf can bring you into state flow. Or basketball. We saw lots of young kids playing basketball until dark. The mother had to come out to call them home to eat dinner because they totally forgot the time and forgot the space. Movies, we find that watch good movies can get you into psychological state of flow. Or follow a TV series. This is some new discovery we find out. Some Chinese like the TV drama. So if they follow the TV series, they forgot the time. Sometimes they forgot the dinner or breakfast, whatever they were doing. They just very much into the TV drama. Love, we find that if you enjoy the companies of your loved ones, that sense of experience, we could call that flow. And social activities, networkings, parties, talking to your friends, and all those activities can generate psychological state of flow. And that's based on the theory we conducted among ordinary Chinese. Learnings, reading books can generate a sense of flow. I just checking the answers. Anyway, working, and that's something surprising to many people because many people feel that the works are stressful. But we find that if you really like what you're doing, or what you're doing is something very important to you, meaningful to you, then you will get into state of flow by working on something you really like. So working on something you really like, you're good at, can easily get you into state of flow. But if you do the job only for the money, only for the pay, or only for other people's directions or expectations, then it's very difficult for you to like what you're doing. So anyway, so make yourself really like what you're doing, then you will get into psychological state of flow. We find that sometimes eating can get you into state of flow. That's why when people get together eating delicious food, and they will get in the state of flow, or cosmetical makeup, you're doing something that'll make yourself look good and look better, and you're getting the state flow. That is why some people, they have to spend half hour or more than half hour to dress up, because it's not the dress they really like, it's the process to put up the dress that make them very happy, right? So that's called the flow as well. Seldom make people get into a state of flow. What surprisingly was watching TV. Some people say, I really like watching TV. Why I don't feel the sense of flow? Because most of the time when people watching TV, they will not concentrate on TV. They are actually doing something else, like in checking their cell phones, reading newspapers, or talking to kids or wife or friends, or talk to people over the phone while watching TV. So you're actually distracted by many other things. You're not concentrate on the TV. So if it's a good TV drama, then you will get into a state of flow. But it's just ordinary TV. Very likely you're just killing the time, right? You're not really enjoying the TV drama. So you're not getting the state of flow. And sometimes we find that never get people in this flow is actually mind wandering. So you basically not focus on anything. Your mind was wandering everywhere. So you're not focused. You're not doing something you really like. You're just doing nothing. Sometimes people feel bored because they're not experiencing the psychological state of flow. So you have to have this challenge. You have to have the skills. You have to have the goal to actually accomplish something by doing that. Therefore, you're getting the state of flow. So Professor Mihai Csikszentmihalyi finds something very interesting and very useful for us to experiencing this optimal human experience. We call that flow. Now the question is how to cultivate the skills of flow. So we all want to have the experience, right? The question is, how do we get there? Well, we find that there are many ways you can get into psychological state flow. One thing you have to overcome is the so-called unintentional blindness. So what is unintentional blindness? We humans always rely on our eyes to see the world. Sometimes we haven't used our mind to see the world because there's differences between see the world with your eye versus seeing the world with your mind. You probably already noticed that sometimes your eyes look at something, but you will concentrate thinking about something else. You actually cannot see the things you look at. That's called unintentional blindness. So my wife often criticizes me for not helping out in the domestic affair, like the house cleaning. So one time she criticized me not help her to pick up 2 pairs of socks. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. And she was actually saying, how could you see you didn't see it? You stop over twice, those 2 pairs of socks, meaning that I saw that. That's why I could step over twice, right? But I didn't see it because my mind didn't see it. My eyes saw it, but my mind was in somewhere else. And that is what we call absent-minded professors, right? We always have something in our mind that we overlooked, many specific, concrete, obvious things. So that's called unintentional blindness. It's not because we intentionally didn't want to see it. It's actually we were in something else. So very often, we humans fail to discover those events, those activities, those circumstances generate the sense of flow was not because we didn't want to, it's because we unintentionally blind of those objects. So how to overcome that shortcomings of a human experience? One suggestion from positive psychology is actually to train your mind to see the world. Sounds very philosophical, but it's actually practical as well. So if you force yourself to see the world in a specific way, like a focused with a purpose, then you're very likely you will discover something new. So my suggestion to all of you, if you really want to cultivate your skills of developing sense of flow, then you should have a habit to discover something new in daily life. When you drive to work, and don't just drive, you look around to see any new change in your city on the way you go to your work. Then come home, pay attention to your kids, to your wife, to your parents, to your loved ones, to see any differences they may have. You never discovered it before. Can you see something that other people cannot see? That's actually precisely what the Buddha's teaching that try to suggest. A flower is not just a flower. It is a world. A leaf is not just a leaf. It is tathagata, meaning that you actually can see many things if you force yourself to see the world with a purpose. So in 1990, Professor Mihai, Csikszentmihalyi, and with working together with Ricky Robinson, published a book. The title of the book is called The Art of Seeing, an interpretation of the aesthetic encounter, in which these 2 authors explore the happiness, the flow moment of viewing arts with this sense of a flow. So how you get there? In this book, they suggest that you train your eyes for details. So let's practice this. Train your eyes for details. And this is the most famous painting from Impressionist painter Claude Monet. It's called the Impression Sunrise. So when you see these pictures, don't just look at it or scan it. And you have to pay more attention to the detail. Force yourself to see the paintings with a different perspective, and force yourself to see the paintings, to discover something you have never seen before. I gather most people have seen this painting before in your life, right? That's why you are taking this class, right? So you have seen this painting before. The task tonight is that, can you discover something you have never seen before? Can anybody share your discover through this chat room? Okay, anybody? I would like to have a little bit interactions and dialogues with you guys. So I want to make sure that the people can cultivate the skills of seeing the world with the mind, not just the eye. Anybody can tell me, have you noticed anything that is new you have never seen before? You just discover right now at this moment with this focused attention to this painting, these beautiful paintings. Anybody? Okay, I got one reply from Bai Hui Yun. Thank you so much. Light above the lake. I get this lady, right? So she saw something new, that she saw the light above the lake, right? Very interesting. So this is what we call train your eyes for detail, then you are more likely to have the experience. The signature, you're right, the signature is right there. That's why the people judge whether this painting is fake or not. They check the authenticity of the signature, and so important. But Tamar discovered the signature tonight. I bet that Tamar saw this picture before, but only tonight, with my suggestions, you discover the log on the left. Yes, the log on the left, it was there. That's from Francis. Oh, Francis was my student. Thank you, Francis. Thank you for supporting this class. Okay, anybody else? Anybody else saw something brand new that you have never seen before? And that's actually the passage. That's your passage to have this sense of flow. So the more you force yourself to see the details, the more likely you get into the state of flow. So Professor Mihai Csikszentmihalyi find that enjoying art can bring you to the state of flow very easily. So this is Monet. Let me see who else shared the thoughts. The bamboo trees. Okay, wow, that's a very interesting discovery. I had never realized that was a bamboo trees. Different extent of the blue and the purple color. Well, that sounds very professional. Fish or grass in the lake. Okay, that's good. Purple colors. The three ships in the river. And the ships in the river was obvious, but only now you saw it. So it's very interesting. Thank you so much. Well, I think we have enough feedbacks from you guys. So let me change to another painting. They're all my favorite paintings. That's from Pablo Picasso. A little bit abstractive, but very abstractive. So it's not like impressionist. They're plentiful, okay, like fishes. Okay, that was from that painting. Now we switch to another painting, different style. You can also bring yourself into psychological state of flow by looking at the Picasso's pictures, right? So look at this, and not just look at the so-called the outlook or the figures, because it's so abstract. The whole purpose of abstract painting was actually generate the psychological state of flow, make yourself pay more attention to the detail, and to make yourself to develop a sense of association. So that's the purpose of this abstract paintings. Also, let me give you a famous Chinese painting, Riverside Scene at the Qingming Festival by Zhuang Zedan. That was 1,000 years ago Chinese painting. It's squirrel, it's very long paintings. So the purpose of the painting was actually draw your attention to the details and every detail in the painting actually tell you interesting stories. So there are lots of interesting stories and rich in the paintings. But the question is, do you have time? Do you have a desire to actually look at? So that's one way to bring you in the psychological state of flow. If you can have the time, have the desire, have the abilities to appreciate the beauties. Let me see another student's response. It looks like a whole high. Where is it? I don't know. Francis, I don't know the whole high, what you means. But anyway, thank you for your feedback, for your comments. Anyway, so that's the beauty. That's the purpose of art. So Professor Mihai, Csikszentmihalyi believed that if you can enjoy the artistical creations, you will more likely to get into psychological state. Ho Hai, yes, okay. Yes, thank you, my TA, Ho Hai. I haven't been there for years because that's the place for young people, right? The drinking bars. I don't know whether they're still open during this COVID-19 season. But anyway, so I encourage you to enjoy the companies of your friends, enjoying your time at the Ho Hai. Perhaps you can also get into the state of flow over there as well. Of course, that's for your young people. My experience of flow is going to be writing, readings, and the teachings, right? That's age differences. Anyway, so that's one way to cultivate the skill of flow. So what is the other ways than cultivate the sense of flow besides artistical enjoyments? You can actually enjoy your friends, enjoy your surroundings, enjoy the context that you are in or circumstance you are in. So my favorite writer, Helen Keller, she was blind. She couldn't see. She had this very famous autobiography by the title 3 Days to See, in which she described her experience. And that's what she said. I find it is very enlightening. She said, how was it possible, I asked myself, to walk for an hour through the woods and see nothing worth of note? I cannot see from the hundreds of things to interest me through mere touch. I feel the delicate symmetry of a leaf. I who am blind can give one hint to those who see, one admonition to those who would make full use of the gift of sight. Use your eyes as if tomorrow you would be striking blind. Hear the music of a voice, the song of a bird, the mighty strain of an orchestra, as if you would be striking deaf tomorrow. Touch each object you want to touch, as if tomorrow your tactile sense would feel. Smell the perfume of flowers, taste the relish each morsel, as if tomorrow you could never smell and taste again. I strongly recommend you do what she recommended, because being a blind, she can see many, many things. How she do that? Because she see the world with her mind, not just with her eyes. So here's my suggestion to all of you. Let's have a moment of practice what she advised. So I want you at least spend 3 to 5 minutes. Look around your surrounding. So you're probably at your study or at your home, at your dormitory, maybe in coffee bar or in some places. When you're taking my class at this moment, I recommend you stop of listening to my lectures, spending some time to look around, look your surrounding, open your mind to see your surrounding. Then tell me what you just noticed that you never seen before, something that is brand new that you just discovered. And that's what we call train your mind for details. And that skills can help you to generate more flows in daily life. So life, your situation is not boring, it's not redundant, it's actually always changing. The question is that, can you see it with your mind? So let's have a 5 minutes practice. Everybody, look around, look your surrounding. Tell me, is there anything that you just see now you didn't see before? Something brand new you just discovered. Let's have this exercise. Then share your discover through this chat room. Okay, let's do this now. Practice seeing the world with your mind. Okay, everybody, practice what Helen Keller tell me, to see the world not just with your eye, but with your mind. Anybody, everybody, let's do it now. 5 minutes. Then share your discover through the chat room on Zoom, so I can see anybody can come up something that is so interesting, so refreshing, and I will personally give you a gift, and you go contact me after class. So let's do it. Look around, look at your situation, look at your context, and look your surrounding. Then tell me, have you discovered something that is brand new? You never recognized it, you never saw it, you never believed it was there. Okay, anybody, if you find it, let me know and let the whole class know, so we can have interesting discussions. If you don't want to type the English words, you can turn on your microphone. You can talk as well. Okay, let's have a 5 minutes exercise, classroom exercise. This is about how to cultivate your skills of experiencing flow, is to see the world with our mind. Anything new in your surrounding you just discovered, simply because you see it with purpose, you see it tentatively. Anybody? Maybe I rushed a little bit. I should give you more time. So the 5 minutes is not up yet. Okay, we have a one student response. This is Lalia, and he said, I can't find anything unfamiliar. Okay, well, that's okay. That's all right. And some people can see it, some people just cannot. I saw 4 hooks on the roof. Maybe it was used to hang something. Okay, or you discovered something right there, so you can use it in the future, right? So I was looking around for something new that I actually feel just how smooth my water bottle is. That's good. And that's a new discovery, right? Something's new. My table has been repaired. Well, that's very interesting. The table had been repaired for times and just find out and just been repaired. My lamplight is warm. Interesting. One practice looks at life in our lab. Okay, long life in our lab. Someone's doing something new. So there's always something interesting if you can see it with appreciative eyes. I find the damaged point on the wall. Okay, pay attention to it. So there's something new. You have to see it. I'm in my living room and just noticed the plant is growing overflow and had to be caught. Maybe I just neglected too long. That's right. Sometimes something happening in our life and the people actually fail to recognize it. Okay, Trey actually said my table has been repaired. I thought it was new. Okay, well, that's a recycle, right? We shouldn't do everything always new. I saw empty flower vase in the corner. So then you can buy new flower to use this vase. So life is not boring. I was surprised to find a plant next to me that I didn't notice before. Right there, you haven't noticed because you only saw the world with your eye. Now you saw the world with your mind. So it's very interesting. I noticed the bubble above me had 7 little tubs. That's very nice. And in the library, I find 4 huge ceramic bottles as a decorate in. So in library, you can find something new as well. Although you've been there probably million times, I don't know, maybe you've been there 1,000 times or 100 times at least. It's something that the Tsinghua students are always familiar with. Anyway, so this is a very simple exercise, and you can do it whenever you can. This is always consistent with the Chinese Buddha's teaching, and you always can see something that is very interesting. So you can see the universe with a sand, with a leaf, with a flower, and with anything that is so small, but you can feel that you can see that it's so vast, so huge. So that's precisely the Buddha's teaching. Anyway, we humans sometimes really busy. We always chasing, we always running, we always doing something, but we seldom force ourselves to see something that is new, something that is different, something maybe is beautiful. We have to see it if we really want to enjoy the sense of flow, and that skills is quite interesting. So what is the second skills that we can develop to cultivate the sense of flow? And that's the skill of we psychology called mindfulness training. So what is the mindfulness? 2 years ago, New York Times published 2 cover stories back and back with an interesting discussion about this new movement in the US. The movement was called the Mindful Revolution. The whole point those 2 articles tried to make was that Buddha's teachings, Asian way of doing things, gradually influenced American general public. So that one obvious influences was what they called mindful training or mindful revolution. So what is a mindfulness? Professor Kabat-Zinn was the founder of a mindfulness-based stress reduction in MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. In 1960s, he visited Korea and Burma and learned something from people over there who practice in Buddha's mindfulness meditations. So he found that this way of training your mind actually help people pay more attention to something that is new, something that is interesting, something that is calm and insightful. So this mindfulness training was actually meaning pay attention in a particular way on purpose in the present moment or non-judgmental. So whenever you have that kind of skills, you enjoy what you're doing in the moment. You really like what you're doing. So that's called the mindfulness training. And that practice now has been getting very popular in the US and also in Europe. So most people in working in Wall Street or working in militaries or in psychological exercise or psychological help professions, the clinical settings, they find that they start to teach the mindfulness trainings to control your pain and addictive problems and stressful situations, and also teaching people mindfulness training to improve social relation and social interactions. So it's getting very popular in the US. Also, we psychologists, particularly positive psychologists, have started to pay more attention to this Asian practice, Asian techniques, to help people to calm down, to help people to focus, and to help people to improve the social relationship and psychological well-being. So the research have found that those mindfulness meditations sometimes can change your brain cells, and that's what they call the neuroplasticity. So neuroscience evidence suggests that we can change our neural structures. For some time, scientists believe that our brain is pretty much already fixed, determined, and seldom change. But the new evidence suggests that we can change our neural network associations by doing mindfulness trainings. So when we think certain thoughts, it strengthen those neural circles. So mental states become neural traits. It's very interesting. And those self-directed neuroplasticity, meaning that the natural positive state of mind sometimes can strengthen and build those neural networks, make happiness habits, make well-being a common experience that people have. Sometimes can make a flow as what you want and what you get. So basically, and it's very helpful. There are other researchers already discovered that mindfulness practice can improve people's pro-social behaviors because it can reduce your stress and control your impulse and make you emotionally sensitive to your own feelings and other people's feelings. Therefore, you have a more sense of compassion than the higher abilities of empathy. So what is empathy? Empathy is the psychological abilities for people to understand other people's wish, desires, and the behavioral intentions. So 2.5 years of kids gradually develop the ability of empathy. Before 2.5 years old, we psychology find that the kids were incredibly self-centered. So whenever they want to quiet, they quiet. And whenever they please, they please. And they didn't want to basically follow your instruction or directions. However, when the kids reach the age 2.5 years old, they start to pay attention to what the parents tell them. They start to feel what the parents feels. When the mother come home, look around, the 2.5 years kids can approach the mother asking very simple question. Are you looking for shoes? Don't ever underestimate the significance of these questions because no other species can ask these questions. No any artificial intelligence machine can ask these questions. Only human kids. That's the human abilities. That's what we call the empathies. So we find that the mindfulness trainings can improve human empathies. By doing that, also increase the chance of getting into the psychological state of flow, the most optimal human experience, and also make people forgive other people's misconduct, other people's harm done to you. So be more forgiveness, and also increasing the qualities of social interactions. So we are social animals. We want to be associated with other people. So how well we do and how good are those social interactions. And we find that meditations, mindfulness trainings can improve the qualities of all those social interactions. So it's very helpful. So how do we do that? The many techniques all depends on teacher and the traditions. So you can spend thousands of dollars to learn from Chinese masters, or you could learn from the videos or online or textbooks. Tonight, I would like to teach you 1 or 2 ways to get yourself into this mindfulness state. And hopefully by doing that, improve the chance of your experiencing of the flow experience. So how do we do that? Well, there are two simple ways, two simple techniques. One is what we call the open monetary meditation. So basically, open your minds and let your minds and flowing. Basically, don't make judgment about what you're doing. Just make your minds free, and then you can do this mindfulness trainings. Second is by focusing your attention to something, and you can do that. So let's do this practice now. And the skills we want to teach you tonight, and I want to people develop. One is ability to be concentrated. So improve your ability of concentration, and that is focusing and stabilizing your attention to certain objects, to certain experience, to certain psychological or physiological state. So that's called concentration. And second skills you can develop by doing this mindfulness training is increasing the sensory clarity, the ability to keep track of the components of a sensory experience. Like you hear something and try to figure out the details of all these hearings. If you're tasting something, then feel the details, the components of your tasting experience. So focusing the ability on something that you have the sensory experience, and also try to follow those experience moment by moment. Number three skill is the ability to be with experience with attitude of gentle matter of factness. That means that you accept the experience. You are not judgmental about the experience. So let's do this tonight. Number one, I want you practice for a bit. Let's do this all together, everybody. Close your mind first. Close your mind and adjust your body postures. And first do a body scan. So basically scan your body and find the point that your body touch the chair, that's closely touch the spot. And you may feel a little bit of warm, a little bit tightness, right? Find the spot. Because our body structure are different from individual to another individuals. So maybe the spot is on your back or on your waist, and maybe on your bottom, or shoulder. Everybody may have a different the touching spot. Okay, find the spot. Focus all your attention to that place, and don't judgmental. If there's some distractions, let it go and focus on the spot. Let's do this exercise all together, okay? A little bit difficult to do this online, and I don't know what you're doing online. I cannot say anybody. It's easy to do this in classroom, person to person. But let's try that experience, because this is really not a mindfulness class, but I just want to illustrate and show you can do that anytime, any moment, any place. Okay, close your eye, do a body scan, find this spot that your body closely touch your chair, and focus all your attention to the spot. If your mind wandering, bring it back and don't force it. Just gradually bring it back and focus on the moment. Let's do it briefly. Okay, guys, let's open your eyes. This is really, really not a mindfulness class. So I actually am not teaching this mindfulness skill. I just try to show you that you can practice the mindfulness that help you to experience more of the flow in your daily life. So let me ask you a simple questions. Please don't check your watch, the clock, and don't check the time. Just tell me straight from your mind, from your intuition, how long did we practice this mindfulness exercise? Then let me see your answers. Just give me your guess, and so I can see whether you have get into the state of mindfulness or not. 2 minutes. That's from Francis. 2 minutes. Okay. Anybody else? 3 minutes. 2 minutes. 30 seconds. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That's great. Okay. 2 minutes. That's good. Okay, we have a very different guess, very different responses. So 3 minutes. Okay, how can we make sure that we find the right spot? Okay, well, if you cannot find the right spot, next time I will teach you in person, 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, 3 minutes. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Thank you so much for all those people who give me feedback. Actually, we did the exercise precisely 5 minutes. Precisely 5 minutes. Those people who tell me only 2 or 3 minutes, congratulations. You were into the state of flow. You were into the state of mindfulness. You forgot the time. You really much enjoy the moment, enjoy the experience. And those people who accurately tell me that the 5 minutes, you're still very rational. You're still very into the state of learning. That's good. I'm not saying that's bad. You're good students. You pretty much doing exactly what you're supposed to do. But some people, because we tell them that there's a way to forget the time and the space, that's called a skill of a mindfulness training, and therefore they were into the state of this wonderful, interesting, amusing experience. So there are many ways to get into it, and there are many ways to teach mindfulness and training. And I just give you an illustration. Don't ever consider that my teaching of mindfulness. I never did it. I just show you that there are ways that you can get into this interesting mental state. We call that flow. So Professor Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi was considered to be one of the founding father of positive psychology because his work on flow, his work on art of seeing, also his work on flow of creativity, tell us that human optimal experience is the psychological state of flow, and that experience make people success, make people happy. So that's something that we positive psychologists strongly recommend the people to pursue. Anyway, that's the end of my lecture tonight, and that's the end of this positive psychology global class. And thank you all for your support, for your understanding, for your appreciation, for your comment, feedback, for your participation. Of course, I also want to thank my colleagues from Tsinghua University who gave me all the technical support tonight, and also give the support to Dr. Zhao Yukun. And last but not least, I want to thank Dr. Zhao Yukun to help me to teach this interesting class to global audience. And I'm the Dean of the School of Social Sciences. I have the many responsibilities. So teaching class is one of my responsibility, but I'm so glad that Dr. Zhao Yukun can help me out. So good night to all of you, and hope you have a wonderful time tonight, and hope you have a wonderful life in this wonderful world. And thank you. See you later. Bye-bye.